Southern California's largest paint and sip studio. Spotlight with Purple Easel.
Welcome to Purple Easel Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on artists and creatives. My name's Latoya.
And I'm Megan.
And today we're going to be spotlighting a few things, a few artists. I done lied. We're actually spotlighting one artist. Just one. But before we get into that, I don't know if Megan has anything to share that's news related.
I do, but I think we need to address the elephant in the room first.
Okay.
I mean, hello, new set.
Oh, hi.
It's really intimidating.
I'm scared.
We have this fancy table and its microphones, and we have 3 cameras.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about all this.
Yeah.
I'm just trying not to look at you because if I look at you, then I break focus.
So, welcome to our journey because this is Spotlight 3.0.
Yes.
And we haven't filmed in a minute.
Yes. Like
And
since last year?
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah, been a few months.
2023, not
Oh
2003.
my gosh.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to go back to high school, sure. But yeah, no, I'm excited, nervous. So we'll see how it goes. But okay, news. I'm going to start off with a little story.
Oh.
I was just hanging out in my living room and my kid comes up to me and says something about the Mona Lisa. And I'm like, how do you know about the Mona Lisa? And she's like, I saw it in your book. I was like, okay. And then she disappears into her little fort and comes out with a picture of the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
I wish I had grabbed it. I should have brought it. But she proceeded to go and draw the girl with the pearl earring and scream and all these things she's looking at in my book. But it was just so cute. And I was thinking about the fact that often when we're at away events, I hear people, even kids, little kids, referring to the Mona Lisa. Like that is the epitome of Art 101.
Yes, that is true.
So I thought it was very interesting to hear that the Louvre is talking about putting the Mona Lisa in the basement.
To not be seen?
To be seen, but they're looking at a way to improve the guest experience.
Okay, because I've heard, and my fiance also did see, and it's not the greatest because it's super small in comparison to where you're at because it's like super far away, and it's just so crowded. Like you're just kind of passing, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you wait in line for basically 2 hours, and you get 30 seconds to look at it. Most people don't even look at it though; they're too busy taking pictures in front of it to prove that they were there without actually experiencing it at all. And I guess it's like up to 40% of all bad reviews of the Louvre are because of the Mona Lisa experience.
Okay. I believe that.
Which is insane to me. They just recently in 2019 refurbished that area and it's already obsolete. So they're looking at creating a whole separate space for it in the basement with 2 entry points, one for the Mona Lisa specifically and one for whatever exhibits they want to rotate through, to really try to address this not so great experience.
I don't know why they just don't put it in like glass and glass and glass and glass, like bulletproof. I don't know. Like,
it's got a
so
real
you can
thick
see
bulletproof thing in front of it. Like I know recently some activists threw soup at it or something, but luckily because it's behind glass, it was fine. But yeah, it's like a $830 million painting, and they're looking at spending $500 million to make these adjustments.
Okay, well, I think it's worth it because, like you said, the reviews aren't it. And I've heard also people were like, yeah, it was not a good experience. You just couldn't see it. It was just crowded, all that stuff.
And that sucks for something that's so like iconic to be so lackluster.
Yeah.
It really loses its meaning when the experience surrounding it is blah.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, well, I hope it'll be better. Do you know when it's gonna?
No.
Okay.
It's probably gonna be a while.
Okay. Well, that is good news.
Yeah, I thought so.
Nice.
What would be better news is if we could take a trip to Paris and see for ourselves.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Let's all take a company trip to Paris.
No big deal. We haven't even made it to like anywhere in LA together, but I'll just go to Paris.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
All these museums in our backyard.
That is so true. Okay, you're right.
So what are we discussing today?
Well, one of my favorite things and favorite topics on the face of the planet, or possibly other planets.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, Meagan, what do you think is the biggest canvas size ever?
I mean, I imagine a canvas that you have to basically roll and unroll into the space that you're putting it in because it won't fit through any doorways.
Well, that is very, very true. The correct answer was the Earth.
Failed.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Cue X-Files theme. So today we're going to talk about crop circles.
Ooh.
Yes, because I think they're very fancy. They're very art. I like to think of it as earth graffiti in a way. And yeah, we're going to get into it.
Cool. Let's.
All right. So legend has it in the 1970s in Southampton. Yeah, Southampton, that sounds so not, I don't know.
Not English?
Yeah.
Because you're thinking of
The Hamptons, yeah. In Southampton, England, a man named Doug Bauer and his friend Dave Chorley were having a drink. And then Dave turns over to Doug, or Doug turns over to Dave. No, legend has it is that Doug looks over to Dave and he's like, let's go over there and make it look like a flying saucer has landed.
Just
They're
like that.
cowboys all of a sudden. So why are these men interested in crop circles in the first place? Well, we have to travel back in time to talk about crop circles back in the 1700s. They were even reported back then in the 1700s. But back then they thought it was the work of the devil. As usual, devil things.
Wood cutting, right? What is that one called?
Thank you.
It was basically a depiction of the devil sowing down oats in a circular, a very, very old wood cutting.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I wish you would have brought that picture.
We'll find it. Pull it up. But yeah, it's cool because it was like a lot of enthusiasts basically say it was the first instance. But really it was just some guy who was complaining about his workers not being fast enough. And he's like, I can do it faster. And it was a depiction of him being, nasty and petty and whatever. So
Dang.
yeah.
That's in fact actually very interesting.
It is.
Can low-key relate. I'll do it myself.
Yes, we can relate.
Yes, we'll do it ourselves. So accounts from 1880 are even in the books. And then there was an astronomer named Patrick Moore in 1963. He also was like, oh my gosh, there's crop circles. But in the mid-1960s, there were occasional reports of crop circles from Australia. So that's interesting. So they were described as UFO landings. And around the same time in England, in Wiltshire town of Warminster,
Yes.
became a center of UFO-seeking sky watchers and gave birth to its own rumor of crop circles. But here's the tea on Wiltshire and why it's so important to the history of this whole situation. So Wiltshire is the home of Stonehenge. And have you heard of ley lines before?
Yes.
Okay, so ley lines are kind of like these energetic lines that connect one monumental, ethereal, magical place like the pyramids to another, allegedly. I'm not saying
they're supposed to be like spiritually
connected.
Yes.
So the Wiltshire area, that region is also like rich to folklore of like spectral dogs and haunted houses. So like, why not throw in some crop circles?
I mean, it's all connected, right?
Exactly. So,
Like that.
So in 1991, Doug and Dave confessed to having made more than 200 crop circles since the 1970s. But here's the thing. So they got popular, right? And they're like, wait. It was us. So they claim to be the ones, and I'm sure they're the ones. But there's no pictures. Like we didn't have footage and drones and stuff like that back then. So I couldn't come up with any images as far as like, these are these specific crop circles that they made. And as time went on, the designs got more complex. And the guy said that they made it with nothing more than like a wooden plank and some string.
Yeah. So it's pretty rudimentary, the technique in which to do it. What I find very interesting is nobody believed them. Because you're looking at a decade and then some of people coming up with all these theories and like, this is somebody trying to communicate with us. And it just kind of perpetuated to the point where it became like myth or legend.
Yeah.
And so they're like, nah, it was us the whole time. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
And so like, were they just trying to take credit for it? Or were they actually doing it? How much was them and then other people get inspired by it? So it's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
Just like any myth or legend that just evolves over time.
Exactly. And that's why I like crop circles, because it's, you don't know. It's probably like 99.9% not aliens, as much as I want it to be aliens so badly. But like, okay, it's very much like Banksy in the fact where, or like graffiti, like you do it and no one owns up to it. No one signs the crop circles. They just do them and they're like, and scurry off in the night.
Right.
Which
just like that.
Which is another thing, which is when I was younger, I was like, I don't think they, because they did it in the nighttime. And I'm like, how could you do that? With like some yokels with like not good tech. It's like, what kind of lighting did they have? I don't know if they're actually
there's that, right? So there's reports of people seeing lighting in these fields. And so that's why they start to make the UFO connection. But I mean, if you're out there in the dark, you're going to need some sort of lighting.
Yeah,
like that would be terrifying.
Yes. Even though like, I understand that, okay, you have like a stick and then you tie a string and then like a compass,
and
right?
then you just make the circle. Yeah.
So I get that. But when it comes to all these crazy intricate designs, I'm like, oof.
They get fancy. And there's straight lines too, which to me is more difficult because you're not just going around a radius. You're not just putting a stake in the ground.
Exactly. Like this first one, it has straight lines in it.
Yeah.
There's got to be some math involved, like for sure.
Interesting that you should mention that. So a lot of these crop circles are actually fractals. And a lot of the prevailing theory is that if there is intelligent life out there, they're going to speak to us in the common language. They're not going to come and speak French or Taiwanese or anything. It's going to be through mathematics because that's universal.
Yeah, no.
How we interpret that is... yeah,
that's true.
There's one specifically I saw, I don't know if you have it on here, but the representation of pi, which was really cool.
I have that one.
It wasn't, they couldn't figure it out until a mathematician looked at it. It was like, that's pi, because the length of
I have seen that. I know
the spiral has little tick marks and it's like 10 digits of pi. And I'm like, how do you just look at that and go, oh yeah. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
We'll throw that image in there too.
Yes. So we're going to look at some crop circles. These things are ginormous.
Yeah.
They're like miles, or can be up to miles. And they're just so pretty.
So intricate.
Yeah.
Like that looks like some sort of labyrinth.
Yeah. Oh, and there's also, you'll see footage of people like laying and like having little picnics and stuff like on the crop circles. Yeah. So.
I saw in one instance there was a couple who sued because it like did all this damage, right, to their crop. But the courts found that the initial damage was very, very minimal, like $500 worth of damage. But it was all the people coming after the media got a hold of it that like messed things up. So ultimately, I think the TV station ended up paying, but like, who do you blame it on?
And you know, and that's kind of why I relate it to Earth graffiti, because graffiti is kind of one of those things. It's public, so this is very public, and people could have sort of feelings, because when I look at some of these, I'm like, they're beautiful, but I'm also like, that's a waste. Yeah, trespassing. That's a waste of wheat, like barley, corn. Like we could be eating and consuming those things.
Yes.
But then it's also pretty. Like graffiti, you're like, oh, like that's disgusting, or what a waste. Like what a waste of space. But then you're like, oh, that's actually really pretty. But
yeah,
it's like,
the images themselves are cool. But there is a cost to it, right? And I think it's interesting because you have like all this work that goes into it, all this planning before you even get out there. And it's temporary. It's temporary art ultimately.
Yeah.
So There are some instances like they'll mow down the whole field and then the following year when it grows in, you can still see evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And there was at least one guy who did a study and found that the crops within the circle had a 5-time growth rate. So they grew faster than the space around.
Interesting.
And he says is because radiation.
Okay.
But it is some food for thought because why would it do that? In theory, if you're just bending or breaking the stalks to make these circles, it shouldn't have like that long of an impact.
Yeah.
Once you mow it all down.
Cue X-Files theme.
Yeah, right? Wow. So maybe. I don't know.
Interesting. Now, there's like little people on this one. Some of the other images you can see like the people a little bit bigger, but that's like how big it is. Like those people are so tiny.
Yeah. That's gigantic.
Yeah, right? And then we got a nice little jellyfish thing going on. That's cute.
And you're essentially trying to do this in a couple hours in the darkness of night.
Yeah, so there's like teams of people who will do it. And again, they do it and they don't sign. They're just like, just making crop circle here.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't meet you for drinks tomorrow. I got an appointment.
Gotta make some
be out all night.
Ooh, pretty.
Yeah. So for me, I love geometric designs.
Mm-hmm.
They're so precise.
Yeah.
And I'm so not. It's like if I try to do anything precise, I just get so frustrated because I'm like, it's not right. It's not right. So no matter how many compasses or protractors or whatever I try to employ, it never turns out the way I want it to.
Okay.
So I can't even imagine like doing it on that scale.
Yeah, on that scale. That's the craziest thing is the scale. That's just so wild to me.
A dragonfly is super cool. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. That one kind of looks like a satellite to me.
Yeah, I can see. You know what? It really has kind of mid-century vibes too. Like retro future.
Yeah.
Which I guess if you're trying to attribute it to intelligent life outside of Earth, that's the aesthetic you would go for.
Yes. This one I put on there on purpose.
It matches your shirt.
Exactly. For the shirt. But is it art? But also, I'm led to believe some stoners did this one.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Cute.
Wow,
See, like that's
those
crazy.
delicate little swirls. Man. And then getting it all to line up just right.
It's math, so it's gonna work. But but I also, like you said, it's not gonna work if I do it.
Well, and you're not just doing it on a 2-dimensional plane. You're in stalks that might be above your head and you're trying to forge a path that makes sense.
Yeah. You just got to trust the string. Right? Trust the string. So here's some where there's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. It does.
Yes. The little duck-looking bird dilly.
That reminds me of something. Are you familiar with Josh Gates?
No.
So he's like modern day Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Not quite as exciting, though I will say the dude is very brave and he's funny and it's interesting to watch him. But he is in a show called Expedition Unknown.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
And he goes around and he looks into mysteries from an archaeologist point of view. And sometimes they find like little bits of things. There's nothing ever like, whoa. But there was an episode and I think it was in South America.
You might. I don't know if you're hinting on.
I don't remember.
What we'll talk about next.
Okay, we'll go into it because I don't remember anyway.
Maybe.
But Josh Gates, cool dude.
Yeah, some more people. You can see them like going through the little lines to get to
Yeah,
the.
this one really, I like that it's taken at an angle. You can see the depth and the shadow a lot more than just the pure aerial.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Johnny Norris. This is out of hand. They're out of hand. They're getting out of hand.
That's totally a fractal though.
Yes. So these next few pictures are to show like that's how they do it. It's just some string and a board.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about the physicality of that.
See, that's what I'm saying is Is it aliens? No.
My back and shoulders get sore if I have to take all the stools off the tables after mopping.
Mhm.
Like, can you imagine doing that? You're lifting up the board and then pushing it down with your foot over and over for like 4 hours straight to mow all that stuff down.
Mhm.
The cereal.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's mind-blowing. It's crazy. Just, I don't know. It's a lot of like, thinking about it, looking at it.
Gotta do some yoga now.
Well, since then, crop circles have been reported worldwide in a multitude of crops. So in southern England, which sees the most activity, circle makers tend to concentrate on canola, barley, and wheat. And again, their size could be like up to hundreds of feet, sometimes like the biggest one. I would say the biggest one, but there is a 900-foot one.
Ooh.
Like, definitely. So here's the thing on Doug, because I'm like, what about this guy though? Like, what art background? Like,
yeah, why?
Yeah, exactly.
But why?
So I couldn't find anything on Doug, so I had to go to ChatGPT, and this is what ChatGPT had to say about Doug, the alleged creator.
The alleged.
So, Doug Bauer, one of the individuals associated with the creation of crop circles, did not have a formal background in art. He worked as a retired farmer and was known for his mischievous behavior. Bauer, along with his friend Dave Chorley, claimed to have started the phenomenon by creating crop circles in the late 1970s as a prank. Their initial circles were simple designs, but they gained attention and sparked interest in crop circle phenomenon. Over time, the designs became more complex, leading to widespread speculation and debate about the origins. Bauer's background as a farmer likely contributed to his knowledge of agricultural techniques that could be used to create intricate patterns in the field.
Interesting.
So, yeah, he's farmer.
Well, you would think as a farmer, like, rather than going out there after the fact, couldn't you just not plant in certain areas and make a release?
Oh, yeah.
If it's your own farm, you don't have to like sneak out in the middle of the night. Just let it grow that way.
Yeah.
It seems way easier.
Maybe that's why.
But I guess you're only limited to like one per season if you do that.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Okay.
There's that. So the crop circle phenomenon was so popular in the 90s that it embedded itself to pop culture. Remember that movie Signs?
Sure do. Where's our tinfoil hat?
We should have brought foil. Yeah. I love that movie. I've watched it like 10 gazillion times. And
how does that not surprise me at all? I think I've seen it once.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So there's this scene in the picture that we'll show next. Okay. When the alien, like, it's like in Mexico and it's like this blurry picture of the alien that they finally get to see. Every time I watch that clip, it's like I'm watching it for the first time. I'm scared I'm like, oh, and then it comes out. I'm like, like as if I don't know. Like I know it's gonna happen, but I just.
That's so funny.
But you know, that had a lot of. It was a priest turned farmer, Mel Gibson, but he's like got crops, and so the premise is that they're landing on his crops.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. And then there's X-Files. There's so many other movies that had crop circles in it. Any of the spoofed scary movies, like Scary Movie 3 and stuff.
Yeah.
Had crop circles. So it's definitely like a pop culture.
Oh, 100%.
I am wearing lots of alien attire.
Okay, so speaking of aliens, are you familiar with the Roswell stone? Stone. So apparently there's a stone, I'll get the image, that has a symbol like engraved into it. That same symbol appeared on a crop circle several decades prior.
Oh.
And it's like exactly the same. And it's kind of too weird to be a coincidence.
A cute X-Files thing.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Roswell, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much lore.
Yeah.
51, you know, surrounding that. So, I mean, it's interesting tie back to those two things. It is a connection of some sort, whether it's legit or not. Who knows? But yeah.
I like myth. Like, I don't know. I just want to believe that dragons are real. I want to believe that fairies are real. I want to believe that aliens are real. I want to believe that Bigfoot's real.
All of the things.
Yeah, all of the things. So that's kind of
Very fun to think about. Oh, yeah. This.
So that gets into our Nazca line.
Thank you. Yes, this is what the episode was about.
Yes, geoglyphs. They're ginormous. They're up to, okay, so not that it is like one image is 800 miles, but if you unwound the miles of like
if you walked the whole thing. Yeah.
It would be up to like 800 miles unwound. Some of these. So the Nazca lines are a group of geoglyphs. They're located in Peru in the Nazca Desert. They were created between 500 BC and 500 AD by people making depressions in the desert soil. So thanks to drones, we're still discovering like more Nazca lines today.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially how it got discovered was in 1927 by a Peruvian archaeologist spotted them while he was hiking. But
it's like, why is there this big giant indent all of a sudden?
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And like they've been isolated and the earth has preserved them due to the weather and the climate. Like it's just good.
Yeah.
Good climate for them to be preserved. But look at how ginormous these things are created by humans. Now this I actually like. To me, I'm like, okay, humans.
Yeah.
Even though they're actually really, really straight also.
They're really big. Like really, really big. And they are detailed, but they're not intricate in the same way that crop circles are. Mm-hmm. These are a little bit more organic. This is something like you would see a cave painting on the wall sort of feel.
Yeah.
Versus the specific intricate geometric patterns of the crop circles.
Yep. And you will find like birds, animals. I think the next one's going to be a monkey.
Oh, look at a monkey.
Like a spiral.
Well, that's so weird, right? Like, again, without having like the bird's eye view, how do you translate that into doing it?
It reminds me, this kind of reminds me of the pyramids because, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, the aliens like made the pyramids, but that doesn't give credit to all the people that made the
right.
pyramids. So I'm like, nah, definitely humans. But this reminds me of the pyramids because it's like, dang, how do humans be making this? But we obviously made it. But how are they making it? But we made it.
It's like everything though, right? There's so much time in the grand history of the world that things just get lost. They get forgotten. And you think about a time before written histories where everything was just verbal, or even once there was written history, you know, how many of those documents survive? You know, scrolls and whatever else. Like we've got the Rosetta Stone, yay. But that's a very small sliver of the enormity of human history. So of course things just get lost along the way. Maybe they had planes. I don't know. Maybe the Wright brothers aren't all that. I don't know.
You know, I didn't want to get into it, but there is an image, like, yes. And so, so this is a map of like, you know, where you can find the Nazca lines. And so there's one, I think it's number 4. It's called Astronaut. And everyone's always like, oh, this is an alien. It's aliens. Because it's a picture of a man or someone who looks like a man, but
the elongated head.
Yeah. And it, I don't know, like I see it as just a person, but some people, I guess I could see why people think it's aliens because of the big giant head, or that it could be like an astronaut helmet. Well, how do they know there was astronaut helmets? That's 500 DC or DC.
Maybe this is just the one that had very bad proportions. It was a newbie artist.
Yeah, it was the first one. Like, so big. We didn't do that one right. Let's workshop this. So yeah. It's very interesting.
That is.
That's the Nazca lines.
Wow. I'm so glad that you actually looked into that because I felt bad because I brought it up and couldn't remember anything. No. So that worked out.
Yeah. And it's something it's art. It's pictorial. It's pictures.
Absolutely.
Just on Earth. The biggest canvas that we can imagine.
Absolutely. I'm into it.
Yes. So we're going to spotlight Fabio.
Ooh.
I know, it's such a cool name.
I'm glad I wore my hair down.
Fabio. I think Trindade. Fabio Trindade. Now, I was trying to find, as we always do, more information on the artist, but one, he doesn't have a website. 2, he's got an Instagram. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just obviously go there to get more information.
Yeah.
But everything's in Portuguese. So I'm like,
wah, wah.
So we're just going to do the best that we can. I'm pretty sure it is spray can. He is a graffiti artist. He's a muralist and a graffiti artist. And there is a line of him saying that he was a construction worker, and he thinks that helped him to increase his sense of proportion. And he also says that he showed his colleague, and his colleagues are like, hey, Fabio, go for it. Like, you're a natural born artist. Like, do it. So he's been creating these murals, and he uses the earth as like an element into.
Yeah, so I love this. Like when you manipulate something that's already there and just like incorporate it.
Yeah.
I love that. That people can just look at things and see a whole story.
Yeah. They're so cute.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yes. So as we'll scroll, we'll see all these beautiful. It's so pretty. I know, right? But there is an image, this one, and then the next one, keep scrolling, that you'll see that there was actually nothing there. So I want to say that in some instances, they actually bring in the flowers.
Okay.
But there could be instances where the flowers are already there.
It could be a seasonal thing too.
Yeah.
Like the one with all the purpley magenta flowers. I mean, it's probably not like that all year.
Yeah. I see that as just being a natural element that's already there, because how could you bring that? I mean, I guess you could, but
it would take a long time to grow that large for sure. Wow.
And I also threw in this lion picture in here just for scale, just to show him and next to his artwork. But it looks to me that he does a lot of, I'm not sure if it's like spray can mixture with brush, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
But the reason why I wanted to highlight him also is because we've been talking about Earth and like the planet, and like this ties into the whole.
Absolutely. Using what's existing as your canvas, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm super into that. I like the lion especially. I mean, it's got that different tone because it's not really taking from its surroundings, but it's blurry and sharp at the same time. And I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, no, I think the same thing. It's fluffy but sharp.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
sharp
there's
parts,
still fluffy,
there's still
soft.
a lot of definition and detail, but it's on. Wow, that's kind of mind blowing. The eyes are very piercing.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I think I can't work, and that's another thing I wanted to bring up, is working in big scale. Some people can work in big scale, like my fiance. I cannot work in big scale.
It's so hard.
Yeah,
it's so hard.
And then some people work in like super duper like miniature scale. So there's so many different mediums and different ways that you can create art. And
I think scale is really underappreciated element of art. Because we're so used to seeing images on our little tiny screens or in books. And like the Mona Lisa, you don't realize that painting's only this big, you know, and it's just projected as this larger than life thing. And there's really not all that much to it.
Isn't it crazy how art does that? How it gets hyped up so much that it becomes bigger than itself.
Yeah, it lives its own totally different life. Absolutely. But yeah, scale. That's why I think going to museums and experiencing art, even if it's street art, like it gives you a better sense of appreciation for what this person is producing.
Yeah.
That's why I love Instagram, because now we get to see reels where you get some of the process, which is fun, but it's the scale.
Yeah.
You're seeing the scale in a different way for the first time. Even when somebody has like a pen sitting next to whatever they created, like it instantly cues your brain to like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. And I just think that in the past, we didn't have that. And I feel like that's one of the better advances that technology has allowed us. That people don't think about
that. Yeah.
Right. Why would you think about that?
Yeah. I feel like
unless you're me.
Yeah. Before.
Yeah.
Unless you're going into like a cathedral or something, they'd be like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no, there was really no reason to think about scale as a viewer looking at art.
Right. So I would like to know what scale surprised some of our viewers in the comments. I think that would be a fun thing that we could look into things that were kind of surprising to them, because I know I'm surprised by stuff all the time. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's that size? Oh, okay.
That's so, as long as like we live in the year the 2020s and we have all this technology, but it's cool that we still get like amazed by stuff.
Yes.
In the art world, we're like, oh wow, like, or again, like I didn't know that existed. Still today, so and we're always
all
just
the time
forever
so
evolving.
evolved. Yes, I mean, crop circles. Imagine coming across a crop circle like in the beginning.
And I'd be like, oh,
we're like, what? It's just so mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's like the eclipse that we had recently.
Oh yeah.
Think of an ancient society that had no context for what was happening.
I'm
It's
like,
suddenly
dang.
dark in the middle of the day. Like, what is
I
this
was
witchcraft?
thinking that. Yeah, I
Like,
totally thought about that. Like back in the days, it was like, yeah, witchcraft for sure, or like Jesus or the devil or something.
Right.
Like,
It's
you think
no
it's a sign
wonder
for something. Yeah,
we come up with all these alternative explanations because we just don't know. And there's so many things we take as fact now that 20 years from now are just going to be blown out of the water. And we'll be like, oh, we were silly.
Yep.
I can't wait. I can't wait to find out what it's going to be.
Yes.
What are we being silly about right now?
So definitely comment below. We would love to hear what you guys have to think about all of the information that we said, especially about the crop circles.
Yeah.
And yeah, tell me if you've seen this artist before, because I feel like I've seen him every once in a while on my Instagram feed. So let us know if you've seen Fabio before as well. And yeah, I guess. Is that it, Meagan?
I think we made it through our first episode back.
Let's go. I don't know how to close this.
Well, from all of us at Purple Easel, thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Check out our next episode. We don't know when it's going to be, but just check it out anyways.
And hopefully on more platforms this round. So that's super exciting news too. There's your art news for the day. Get your spotlight in more places. Yeah.